Hello, everybody around the world. It's currently a lovely sunny afternoon here in South Africa. I'm Monique Freislich, and I'm going to present today's workshop. Okay, so today we are talking about autism and the future of work. And if you're watching this workshop live or at a later stage, thank you very much. I look forward to inspiring you to bring change for the autistic individuals in our schools, in our therapy practices, in our workplaces, and when we are creating businesses. So to start off, I believe it's very important to say and to note that I am not an autistic individual myself, but I will be able to give you the experiences that I've gained by working with the autism community over the past 10 years. I also have an autistic son, and he has been a great inspiration for me. And that is also what ignited my passion for autism and the business world. So, again, like I said, today is all about autism and the future of work. So, my business partner and I have established two schools specializing in the education of neurodiverse learners. And one of the biggest problems that we have identified over the years is that little to no future planning is done for young autistic kids. The focus, and rightfully so, is on the primary and secondary education of the child and to foster independence. However, little attention is given to how important and difficult it is to do future planning for these kids. And in every home, the planning will look different. That's very important to remember. So, my role today and in every day is to give guidance to parents and caregivers and the different role players in their lives, therapists, business owners, to is just to give them an idea of what to work towards in terms of future planning and work. So this could be in answering questions such as, where do you see your child? What is your child's own life goals and dreams, if that's applicable to your child? What strengths do the individual and the family have that could assist in future employment? How do you identify inclusive workspaces? How do I build inclusive workspaces? And how do I create a business as an autistic individual, or alternatively, businesses for autistic adults? So here you will see the purpose of this workshop, and I will just highlight this with a scenario that I have faced before. So for many years, the parents of an autistic child focused on speech and only speech, which is not wrong. I mean, any parents with an autistic child hopes and dreams of their child speaking to them, telling them how they feel, and telling them about their day. But for this specific child, we as school and therapists were only instructed to focus on speech development. And no reference was ever given to alternative methods of communication or practical skills development. So this child grew up still nonverbal with no alternative method of communication. But the really worrying part of this is that there's no future planning done for this child. So, because the only goal that the parents ever had for this child was to speak. So, um, there's just no option now for the child specifically to what is he going to do with the rest of his life. And this workshop focuses on bridging that gap, really highlighting how important future planning for autistic individuals are and how to successfully do this and who is involved in that process. So here you will see a slide of the latest statistics pertaining to autism and work. And the statistic shows that the majority of autistic adults want to work, which is very positive. And that percentage that indicated that they do not want to work is mainly influenced by previous experiences and bad experiences of the working environment and what to do and how to really just achieve success. Then further looking into the statistics on this graph displayed is a multi-dimensional problem across just really the world and not just specifically to one country. I know of an artist, a 16-year-old, and this individual did not have sufficient schooling options in his country. So the parents eventually decided to create a business for him, which was a great success when they started off. However, they did not have the relevant business support to succeed in this. When we're speaking about business management, we're speaking about 8 functions, different functions of business: financial, marketing, public relations, management. And if they do not have the relevant skills to make the business a success, it's going to be very difficult to maintain that. And it's important to note that looking at how to improve the basics of entrepreneurship or creating or improving an inclusive workspace will always be on a case-by-case basis, as the reality will look different for each individual. One family or parent might have more experience with finances where they lack the marketing side, or one individual might have one specific skill where another will have another skill. So really per person, there's not one program that can be directed at the neurodiversity community and say, do this and you will succeed. So it's very important to work with individuals that will be able to guide you through this whole process. So looking just briefly at the statistics, only 16% of autistic adults are in full-time employment, with 32% of them getting paid for actually what they are doing. And a shocking statistic is the 85% of autistic college graduates that are unemployed, which really just highlights a significant gap between education and employment opportunities. And then furthermore, the employment rate of 80% is just alarming. Moving on to this part of the statistics is basically a graph that I put out, which shows a lack of employment support, with only 7% of autistic adults receiving employment services and really supporting them in their employment, which leads to workplace discrimination, which is a major barrier. And you will see that a shocking 96% of autistic individuals indicated that they experience discrimination at their workplace. And then it's just the next thing. This all provides or gives a background of barriers in the traditional workforce. And then what eventually happens is that a lot of the autistic community turns to entrepreneurship for giving them stable employment. So the neurodiverse founders actually feel that their own businesses are more viable than going into the traditional workforce. And again, this statistics just reiterate that we are facing a multidimensional problem across the world. So I will not be going into detail pertaining to the diagnostic criteria of autism. I think most of us are clued up on this, but when working in the neurodiversity field, you have to really base your definitions, your criteria, the challenges and everything that you work with out of the latest DSM, which is currently the DSM-5 TR, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, for those who do not know the DSM. So most of us know that autism is a spectrum with 3 levels of support. And for the purposes of this workshop, I will be generalizing the definitions, the strengths and challenges, scenarios to what I have worked with the most often. So looking to supporting individuals with low support needs, we are speaking about individuals that are independent in many areas of their life, but they still face difficulties, especially with communication, social interaction, and sometimes sensory sensitivities. So they have many strengths, and these include things like having a deep and specific interest and focus, excellent memory, what else can I think of? Attention to detail, and coming up with creative and unique problem-solving approaches. And then we're looking at very common challenges such as the struggle with social communication, very high levels of anxiety, and the sensory sensitivities. And one that's very important to note is executive functioning difficulties. And that's usually problems with organizing and time management, which can become a really big problem in a working environment. So looking at job opportunities that accommodate these common challenges of the individuals are key. And if I think of, for example, employment opportunities where one would be working in IT support and it is a remote job, that would be excellent if the individual really struggles with social communication and high anxiety levels, for example. So much of what is required for support, for employment, for autistic individuals with low support needs will be dependent on the business owners in ensuring that the business environment is inclusive. So I have compiled an inclusive working environment checklist for those who would be interested. I'm happy to share it with anybody. But the thing that is very important to note with checklists, with neurodiversity and creating an inclusive working environment, is that inclusivity is not just a once-off checklist of, I did this, I did that. Okay, now my working environment is inclusive of everybody. It's really an ongoing practice of daily doings and policies that need to be implemented, understood, and believed by the entire business. So many individuals with low support needs will cope on a day-to-day basis. However, many of the individuals that I specifically know of have stopped working and became dependent on family because there's just too high of a demand of being employed. And I go through a lot of trouble to really watch low support need individuals on TikTok, and they often say how they struggle with burnout and stress of the daily demands of their workplace. So many have found specific accommodations that work for them. one lady that I specifically watched yesterday, she blasts metal music in her ears for the whole day. And her colleague opposite to her indicates with a hand sign and face gestures to her that somebody is actually speaking to her. And then she only removes her headphones and she then interacts with them. Many others that I know have scripted interactions, which they have practiced before they go into the workplace or in any conversation, that they actually practice and do to be able to cope. So this is why many of the autistic individuals will benefit from entrepreneurial opportunities. But the problem is the lack of general knowledge to open, to run, or maintain the business. And proper expertise are really needed for these individuals. And I know of some programs in some countries that are really beneficial. But yet again, these programs can't be generalized to, let's say, entrepreneurial, I don't know, entrepreneurial school for the neurodiverse, because again, it will look different for each individual. Moving on to support for the individuals with moderate support needs. So when we're speaking about moderate support needs, we are looking at an individual that requires support in certain aspects of their life. So communication, socialization, and often emotional regulation. And then many of their strengths and challenges is also what the lower or the low support individuals will require. Common strengths that they have is pattern recognition, visual thinking, ability to see detail. Their level of honesty and loyalty is just unmatched. And this is also that you will get in the low support needs individuals. Then common challenges that we do see is difficulty understanding abstract language, which is one of the most common that we do see. They don't understand sarcasm, metaphors, or really just abstract concepts. They are unable to read people's emotions and feelings and what they actually mean when they say, or body language. They need consistency, schedules. They struggle with transition and social interaction. And I hope that while I'm listing these challenges and strengths, you'll be able to see why it could benefit a company or why it could be challenging for the individual that needs to work in these environments. So then I want to move on to a specific example that I know of for a moderate support needs individual. And this is a family that created a printing company. So they print stickers, they print on different objects, bottles, and T-shirts for a wide variety of customers. And the child specifically is very good with packaging and creating the prints. However, the child is not able to do any of the business management, marketing, support, public relations, finances, or any of that. So that could be a major challenge. But now they created this entire business around her specific interest, which is absolutely excellent. But what's even better is that this exactly fit into the parents or her main caregiver's interest and strengths as well, which is very important. Moving on to individuals with high support needs, we're looking at individuals that need significant ongoing assistance with communication, daily living skills, and personal care. Common strengths that we will find there is they have really unique ways of expressing themselves. They become deeply attached to trusted individuals, and they are able to excel in structured and supportive environments. And then common challenges is that they are most likely to be nonverbal or have limited verbal communication and might be using alternative communication. And they have a high need for routine and difficulty with adapting to change. So this will result in an individual that needs constant supervision in some cases. So for high support needs individuals, support from the schools and therapists will be crucial for individuals. And this is where a learner will be trained for specific work or to fulfill a specific role. Yet again, that's very important. It will be in their interest. So again, an example of this is a learner that enjoys plucking weeds. It's never forced. This is absolutely when the learner gets a chance, they will run out and immediately start gardening and plucking weeds. So the first chance that we can have as an influence in his life is to help him to exceed in this. So the school's role would be to integrate gardening into his curriculum, training him to become the best gardener or landscaper that he can be in his ability. And when we go out as a school from our side, we are going to identify businesses that are willing to work with him, to train him, and to assist him in integrating into a working environment. So what's amazing is that you do find businesses out there that would actually say, but we need a person exactly for just watering the plants if we say we're working with a nursery. And then we can train that learner into doing that specific role, which he will actually enjoy for the rest of his life because it's in his specific interest and what he enjoys doing. Then this is actually amazing. When I was preparing my presentation for this workshop, I received a video from my business partner, and I've seen this video multiple times, but just because I was busy with this, it just really lit a fire in my heart again of how important it is to believe in what you are doing and working towards for your child and with your child. So many of you would have seen this, but if you haven't, this video specifically focuses on Thomas Edison and his mother. So the truth of this video and this tale can't be confirmed and said that it really happened, but there is a tale that goes that Thomas Edison went to school one day and he received a letter from his teacher that said he must strictly just take this to his mother. And when he took it to his mother, she opened it and he asked, what does the letter say? His mother said, it read, your son is a genius. This school is too small for him and it doesn't have enough teachers to train him. Please teach him yourself. And from that day onwards, his mother taught him at home, and what she did was absolutely amazing because, I mean, he has more than 1,000 patents to his name. And the tale further goes that years after his mother passed away, he came across the letter again and he read it and it said, your son is mentally deficient. We cannot let him attend our school anymore. He is expelled. And reading this, he then wrote in his diary, Thomas Edison was a mentally deficient child whose mother turned him into the genius of the century. So with this, I want to really spark a new passion in your life, to know that it's up to us, the role players in autistic individuals' lives, to inspire perseverance. If we as a community, I as a parent, different schools and therapists can work together to assist autistic individuals in their strengths, they will be able to accomplish more. I also do believe that this is not only up to the just the parents. The story is just so focused on the parents, but really, again, I want to just say that this is just not even just the schools and therapists. This is so much more. It goes on to business owners, governments, countries, to work together. Then we know that autistic individuals have many strengths. And I've listed a few of the most prominent strengths, and it really is motivating. You will see the latest feedback and statistics. It predicts that by 2027, about 20% of sales organizations with Fortune 500 companies will actively be recruiting neurodivergent talent. And this is really just to enhance the business performance due to the different strengths that they display, because these strengths aren't just the average strengths. It's really strengths that businesses are looking at, that can evolve and take a business to the next level. Now, looking at these questions, I'm going to show 3 questions. It can be very demotivating if you have been working with autistic individuals for a long while, or if you have an autistic child yourself and the child is already older. But it's important to ask and see how we can change this. So I'm now of working age, or my child is now of working age. What now? Or you are a parent or school and you're preparing for the future of work for the different children in your school. Alternatively, you are a business owner or stakeholder in the autism communities and would like to include inclusive practices. So this is important questions to ask before we move on, because what we're going to look at now is, how do I now move to action? How do I bring about change? And we will start with inclusive practices in the workplace first. So what's important is we can continue to advocate for inclusive workplaces, which is very important. In the ideal world, all workplaces are inclusive and employ a variety of individuals, but that is unfortunately just not the reality. We need to face that reality together and work at creating solutions. How are we going to move forward? And I was also a student for a very long time, and it's very exciting and motivating to see that more and more studies pertaining to autism in the workplace, how to move forward, is being done. So the next step that we can do is, once the role players have identified the main level of interest of the individual that we're working with, we can work from there. We do not want to push our kids into work or environments that they will not be happy with, they won't enjoy, or that's not their passion. If we do that, we're setting them up for failure and being unhappy. We do not want to do that, and we want to create better statistics than what we looked at when we started off. So we want to really incorporate business practices with these checklists, seeing what we are doing is inclusive and working, and that we are making a real change in the businesses out there. With creating entrepreneurial opportunities and businesses, the main focus would then be getting support from individuals or businesses or training communities that's focused specifically on neurodivergent individuals. A lack of foundational business knowledge would really be a downfall for any individual going into the business world, and not just the neurodivergent. And it's important to remember that it will not always be about becoming the next Fortune 500 company. If that is the goal, then absolutely go for that. But other than just creating a working opportunity for individuals, the focus would be on unlocking strengths for that individual and building flexibility and creating a happy environment for them. In line with getting the right support and training to be successful, it would be to focus on the specific interest first. That's, again, very important. Just one scenario that I would like to give you is with a moderate support needs child, that's a master pizza roller, for example, pizza dough roller, but has selective communication. Now the parents and the families creating this whole pizzeria for them, but their primary caregiver hates cooking food, has no interest in any food-related things, hates the smell of pizza, and let's say has 5 kids, and doesn't want to compromise family time. Opening up a pizzeria just won't work. But let's say the caregiver is an expert on social media and has 1 million followers over all her social media platforms. They can rather start creating content where this individual is rolling pizza and making videos of different techniques to do it and filming that. That can create a whole spiral of happiness and business opportunities, not just for the autistic individual, but also for the caregiver, which is very important. In conclusion, I'm just focusing back to innovation, inclusion, and inspiration. I really do believe that with innovation, with different ways of doing things, with inclusion, with different people working together, companies changing policies, hiring policies, and including different strengths, hiring people for strengths, can bring much change. And also inspiration. Let's continue to seek out real stories from autistic adults and individuals that's able to share and willing to share that with us, because that's how we learn the best. We can become advocates, strong advocates for what we believe in and how we can change and bring real change for the people around us. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I am going to take any questions that you would like answered, or alternatively, you are able to contact me on the email address here below, and I'll be able to share more with you on what I'm passionate about. Thank you very much.